Previously on the Skip and Josh Sports Show.
Two teams had the exact same outcome, right?
Mm-hmm.
But in Montreal, it's like, you want to know what I heard here in Montreal?
Yeah.
Trade Galchenyuk, trade Price, fire the GM, sign Kovalchuk. How do we get Tavares? These are good questions, but I mean, trade Price, trade Galchenyuk, trade Gallagher, trade Pacioretty. That's what I heard.
Yeah, it's a little bit ridiculous.
Yeah,
It's a lot ridiculous.
Yeah, and then I tuned into Toronto, and it's like all sunshine, unicorns, and rainbows. You know, everybody's happy.
Who doesn't like unicorns?
The Skip and Josh Sports Show is on now.
Skippy,
Hey, what's up?
a lot's up, actually. We haven't spoken again in about a week.
But this time we really haven't spoken.
I know, well, you were away and I was busy with stuff.
Yeah.
I actually played 2 hockey games this week and my body's in pain.
That's not good.
No, but
Like I just told you off air, we're not getting younger.
no, we're not. So, you know, speaking of being older, when I was younger, I used to watch every minute of every playoff game.
Yeah.
This is like 20 years ago.
Yeah.
It didn't matter if it involved my favorite team or not. I would stay up. I didn't care how long the games went. I didn't care if they went into double overtime or triple overtime because I wanted to be able to say that I saw the winning goal in triple overtime or whatever it was.
Yeah.
But now I don't do that anymore. Now I don't stay up for overtime. I don't stay up for the third period of the West Coast games. Sometimes I don't even stay up for the second period of the West Coast games.
But
So
is-
yes,
But is this because like you're just not interested, or you're into other things, or it's because the games are not that good, or like the
no,
team?
it's just because I'm exhausted.
Yeah. Okay.
Like I can't stay up.
right.
So last night when I went to bed, the Oilers had a 3-0 lead at the beginning of the third period.
Yeah.
Anyway, this morning I wake up and I'm, what happened in the games last night, because there was also a late basketball game. So I was just curious to know what happened. And I see that Anaheim won 4-3 in overtime. So right away, that's like, wow, they came back from a 3-0 deficit.
Yeah. They
But
scored.
then I look,
Yeah. They scored with 15 seconds left to tie it.
right. But not only that, the Oilers were up 3-0 with less than 4 minutes in the game.
Yeah.
And Anaheim pulled their goalie with like 3.5 minutes left, which that doesn't happen every day. And they actually tied it up in a span of 3.5 minutes. They actually tied up the game. I couldn't believe this. So I'm watching the highlights on my phone. Couldn't believe what I was seeing. And then of course they win in double overtime. So now, I mean, this kind of a loss for the Oilers, they could be done now. They've lost 3 games in a row. They had a 2-0 lead in this series. They've now lost 2 games in overtime. This could be the end of the Oilers. It just might deflate them so much that there's no way they can come back. Now the next game's in Edmonton. That's going to help. But I was surprised because you don't see comebacks like this very often in hockey. Usually when a team has a lead going into the third period, even if it's only a 1-goal lead, usually that team ends up winning. But in the playoffs this year, I've been finding that teams have actually been coming back from behind.
Which is surprising, right? Because it's so hard to score, yet somehow when they really need to score, they could do it.
Yeah, it's almost like
It's like in soccer, like when you watch the World Cup, it's super boring, right? Because neither team wants to take any chances. But as soon as one team scores and then they go on the defensive, and then the team that has to score needs to, they can, because now they're actually trying to, right?
it's almost like the last 2 minutes of a football game.
Yeah.
A team that's behind, somehow they just drive down the field and they score at will, it seems.
Yeah. But I mean, I feel bad for the Oilers. Like all I heard this morning on the highlights was a lot of complaining. I don't know if you heard like Milan Lucic's interview. He was just pissed about the officiating. He thought that there was goalie interference on the tying goal, and like I don't know. There's so much complaining about the officiating in this playoffs. Like I don't even want to. I mean, I know that's what I wanted to talk about today, but I don't want to like complain about the refs. I think like it's a bigger problem than just the refs. That's like there's just no calls. There's no calls.
The thing is, I think it goes both ways though. Like it's the same. It's the same for both teams.
No, of course it's the same for both teams. But the games that you see in the playoffs are not like it's not the same sport as the regular season.
You're right about that. You're absolutely right. But there was a goal that Anaheim scored, I think, in the first or second period that was disallowed because of a high stick, which was the right call.
Yeah.
So I mean, maybe I don't know if that went into their logic for why they didn't allow the tying goal, because they couldn't say, or they didn't want to say, oh, we already screwed them in the first period, we can't screw them again in the third.
Right.
I don't know if that goes into their head.
Well, I mean, that's what fans think. Oiler fans are going to say, "Oh, we got one back," or the Ducks fans are going to say, "Oh, would they owe us a call?" Like that's what the fans think in their head. But I mean, I remember hearing an interview with Kerry Fraser once on the radio, and they asked him specifically about this, and he's like, "It's the biggest nonsense in the world. The refs do not think about this. This is not in their mind.
Each call is in a bubble of its
Yeah,
own.
yeah. So I mean, from the onlookers, it seems like, oh yeah, but I mean, I think in the heat of the moment on the ice, I don't think.
I have a couple of other observations about the NHL playoffs.
Sure.
Remember when we were comparing the Leafs and the Habs series and how I thought the Leafs series was so much more exciting than the Habs series?
Yeah.
And it was.
Yeah.
And now, similarly, I watch like the Penguins Capitals games, and I'm very interested in them. I'm like, my eyes are glued to the set.
Yeah.
But when the Rangers and Senators are on, it's like I don't even care. It's like it's a different league almost.
Really? Well,
That's
I mean,
that's what I feel. I mean, I don't know. Maybe other people feel differently, but
well, I mean, you are talking about like the first and the number 1 and 2 teams basically in the conference in Washington, Pittsburgh, and you're talking about the number 5 and 7 or whatever it is. Like they're not the caliber of the Rangers and the Senators is not the Capitals and the Penguins, right?
right. But it's noticeable to me on television.
Right.
And so, I mean, just to say that whoever wins the Pens Cap series, I think is going to have an easy time with whoever wins the Rangers Senator series. That's what I think.
The only thing is that I think the Penguins can win the series even if Crosby doesn't come back.
Right.
But
because they have a 3-1 lead.
Yeah. And it's not just the 3-1 lead. It's like I think the Capitals are lost. They're looking for answers. They're a lost team. Like mentally, they're lost. Like I think they're going into the game like I don't know how we're going to beat the Penguins. I don't think they can conceive how. That episode of Seinfeld where George is like, I can't conceive how I'm ever going to have sex again.
Yeah,
right? He's like, I can't conceive it. I can't even picture a scenario where it's going to happen. But that's like that must be like the Capitals like. They're like, what do we have to do to beat the Penguins? Like, I don't think they think they can do it, right? So that means they're defeated. But without Crosby, I mean, Pittsburgh is still a good team, but I don't know how far they can go. I think they could beat the Senators or the Rangers without Crosby, actually, but I don't know about beating whoever comes out of the West.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with you, but the interesting thing is the Capitals have actually outplayed the Penguins for big portions of the series.
Yeah, they have. But what Pittsburgh's showing, what a lot of GMs don't really realize is that you need to score, right? You need to score.
But the Caps have scoring. They got tons of it.
You're right. But Pittsburgh has this quick strike offense, right? Like they just bang, like all of a sudden, bang, it's in the net. Like and after they're being outplayed, all of a sudden there's an odd man rush and they bury their chances.
This is true. By the way, this is not really much to do with this series, although I was watching the Caps game on Monday, and the Caps did something on Monday that Pat Burns used to do all the time when he was coaching the Montreal Canadiens. And I didn't understand it back then, and I still don't understand it now. And it is that they dress 7 defensemen.
I know, this is weird.
So you need to explain to me what the advantage is in dressing 7 defensemen.
Well, look, I'm not like an expert on the Capitals roster, but I know maybe he feels like that. So, I mean, there's only like 11 forwards, right? So right. I guess he feels that like that 12th forward is going to play, 2 minutes of ice time and it's not useful. And maybe he's a little bit worried about the depth on the defense. Honestly, I don't understand it either,
Yeah, I never understood it when Burns did it, and I'm sure other coaches have done it, but I still don't get it.
Yeah, and me too.
The Skip and Josh Sports Show is back.
What do you think about that hit on Crosby and the concussion and the whole thing?
So, I'm glad you asked. I'm not sure. I mean, I saw the play 100 times. So Niskanen, I don't think he intentionally tried to give Crosby a concussion. However, he also didn't really try to stop himself from hitting Crosby either. Now, and Crosby was in a vulnerable position because he just gotten hit and he was falling down. So it's not like a normal play where you're just sort of skating into each other, where you're both going for the puck or whatever.
Right.
So in defense, in Niskanen's defense, he wasn't expecting Crosby to be coming at him in that way from that direction from that angle.
I agree with that.
But
yeah.
still, he did put his hands up, whether that was to protect himself or to hurt Crosby.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll never know what was going through his head.
No, I mean, look, I don't think it was intentional, but for the coach of the Capitals to come out and say that was a hockey play, it's complete nonsense.
Yeah, I didn't like that response.
No, it's complete nonsense, and like it just goes to what I was touched on before, is that the officiating, the playoffs, there's no officiating. They might as well have no ref out there.
Well, they did call a penalty on that play.
I know, but it's like the penalties are so extreme. There's basically 4 penalties that are being called. Like, yes, the odd time there's a cross check or a hit that gets called, the odd time, but most of the time the only penalties that they're calling are the ones that they have no choice to call. So the defenseman shoots the puck over the glass, the guy touches the puck with his hand in the face-off circle, too many men on the ice. Like the ones that they have to call are the ones that they're calling, like ones that are taken out of their hands. But the subjective calls, they're just not calling anything, and it's very frustrating to watch. You know, like everybody's giving so much attention to this Crosby play. Was it intentional? Wasn't intentional? Blah blah blah. All this stuff. But like, you know, Andrew Shaw got smashed in the head in Game 5 of the Rangers series, and then he sat out Game 6, and they said he had an upper body injury, and every single person knew he had a concussion. And then when the series was over, they said, yeah, he had a concussion. But like, no one's talking about that because it's Andrew Shaw. But somehow, and I understand the importance of Sidney Crosby, but the point is, they need to call this stuff. They made a point of saying, we're going to call hits to the head. We're going to call hits to the head. And all season they try to call hits to the head, and they're saying, we can't. You used the word yourself just now, vulnerable position, right? I mean, like, they say that they care about player safety, but they don't. You know, they don't. And they say that the players have more respect for each other, but they don't.
So I don't disagree with you, but here's my question. So if a player is standing upright and he's hit in the head, I agree with you. But what if a player is
he was falling down. Yeah, I know.
Falling down or leaning forward, reaching for a puck. So now his head is now at the level of like let's say your stomach.
Yeah.
And he gets hit.
No, I get it.
Is that whose fault is that?
I get it, and it's very hard. The officiating is hard, but the refs put themselves, and the league with the directions that they give the refs puts themselves in a hard position, because the refs don't call anything, and as the playoffs continue, they keep not calling everything, so the play gets crazier and crazier, and guys are just killing each other, right? Whereas if you start calling it from game 1 of the playoffs, at least almost like you call it during the regular season, the players know what they can do and what they can't do.
Right. It's a slippery slope. And if you start one way, like they did in the first round, with letting everything go, then they're going to have to let everything go the rest of the way.
I just find that the emphasis in the playoffs is not about the skill of the players. It's about the physicality. And I like watching the skill of hockey. You know, like, what's the best hockey that we've seen in our life? It's probably the Olympic gold medal games, right?
Right, or the Canada Cup games when Gretzky and Bossy were on the teams.
Yeah, because there's no goons, right? There's no fourth liners. It's all skill players. The game's beautiful to watch. And you know, I love the Stanley Cup playoffs. It's great. I'm not, and you know what? There's going to be people that are going to say, "Oh, that's Skip. He's a wimp. He wants to take hitting out of the game."
I'm with you. I'm with you on
I don't
this.
want to take hitting out of the game, but I don't think the game should be WWE.
In fact, I'm going to go a step further. I wasn't going to mention this, but I was thinking about this the other day. So now there's going to be an expansion team in the NHL. So they're going to get 30 players. They're going to get a player from every team.
Now every team's weaker, right?
Exactly. So in theory, every team is going to be weaker.
Yeah.
So here's my question, and this will never happen because the Players Association won't let it happen. But here's my question. The fourth line players, they don't play that much. What would be so terrible? You only have 3 defense pairings. Why do you have 4 forward lines? Why don't you have 3 forward lines? So you only need 9 forwards instead of 12. And that means that each of the 9 forwards will play more, but they'll all play more on every team. So if let's say your 9th forward is going to have to play more minutes than he normally would, well, the 9th forward on the other team's also going to have to play more minutes. So both teams are going to be equally tired. And then you have smaller rosters. I mean, you could still have extra guys. Obviously, you have healthy scratches and things like that.
Yeah, it's a good suggestion what you're saying, but like you said, it's never going to happen because we're at the position where there's the roster size is X, and the Players Association is not going to allow for X-1. You know,
right? Because they don't want to have less players in their association and therefore less jobs.
Yeah.
But I think if you cut it down to 3 lines per team, instead of 4, you'd eliminate a lot. Obviously, all the fourth liners.
You'd have a better product on the ice.
You might have more skilled players, and because you might have guys who are a little bit more tired in the third period of games,
there's
you might have
mistakes.
higher scoring games.
Yeah, it's true.
Which isn't such a bad thing.
No, it's not such a bad thing. All right, there's my rant on the playoffs. I don't know if you heard Crosby practiced with, full equipment.
I did, and the funny part, on the first day that he practiced by himself, they actually I don't know if you saw shots of their practice facility where they lowered the blinds or something, so you couldn't see through the window through what was going on inside.
Right.
They kicked all the reporters out and they lowered the blind. It was hilarious. Actually.
Look, I hope he doesn't come back if he's not ready. And I mean, look, we all know like he sat out almost a whole year, so we do know the Penguins are committed to protecting him, right?
Of course.
But this is the playoffs, and
I mean, listen. Once you've had a concussion, and he's had several, you're more susceptible to getting it.
Yeah.
And the truth is, like, people are talking about, will he be back next game? Will he be back next round if they advance to the next round? I mean, the truth is, he might never ever play another hockey game again.
Yeah, that's true. Or he could play tonight. You don't know. I don't think he's gonna play tonight. I think they're up in the series, and I don't think there's an urgency for him to play. Although I guess that line of thinking is not really supposed to come into play, right? I mean,
no, it shouldn't come into play. It should be, is he healthy enough? But if I'm them and I'm up 3-1 in the series, I'm thinking, just let him sit.
Yeah, just let him sit. Let him sit, and then when we get to the next round, we'll see.
He can get to the next round. He gets an extra few days of rest. I mean, and a lot of times with concussions, I mean, you might feel okay today, but tomorrow you won't.
Yeah, that's true.
Even if you do nothing.
Yeah. So besides those series, like, have you been watching like the St. Louis Nashville or the Rangers? Like,
I'm watching bits and pieces of all of them. I mean, on the nights when I'm playing hockey, I don't watch, so I can't say that I've watched every minute of every game.
Yeah.
Far from it.
To me, Nashville looks like the strongest team out there right now.
Well, they did lose yesterday.
I know they did, but I mean, they're such a complete team. So I mean, it's going to be, if Anaheim wins and it's Anaheim Nashville, that'll be a hell of a series. Let me tell you.
You know what? Regardless of who wins, Anaheim, Edmonton.
Yeah. Well, Edmonton is so entertaining, right? Just because McDavid and Draisaitl and
they do have a lot of.
It's just they're an entertaining team to watch, and. I don't know, the Rangers. I don't know. The Rangers, obviously, look. Ottawa won the first 2 games. They didn't deserve to win the second one, and then the Rangers just basically took them apart the last 2 games to tie the series. So they deserve to be tied in the series. Actually, the Rangers deserve to be up in the series. So I do think the Rangers are gonna just take the rest of this series. I don't think Ottawa has anything left.
The Rangers series is opposite from all the others. The home team is winning every game in the Rangers series, whereas in the other series, the road team is winning more often.
Right.
In fact, overall in the playoffs, the road team has a better record than the home team.
Well, I think in all of all the sports, I mean, home ice advantage in hockey, it's marginal, don't you think?
Yes, agreed.
Yeah, I mean, in the football, I do think it's a big advantage, and I think statistics bear that out. Home teams,
in basketball too.
Home teams win like more than 50%, right? And like basketball, for whatever reason, I mean, it's such a huge home court advantage in basketball.
Yeah, you're right. But in hockey and baseball, home ice or home field, not that important.
Baseball can, because the stadiums are different, right? So if you can somehow tailor your team around your park, let's say,
if you have a hitter's friendly park,
or a short porch and like a short porch in right or left, so you have like David Ortiz, Fenway Park was like built for him, like down the line and right, he could smash it, and then he would just smack doubles off the green monster all day.
Hi there, Skip and Josh will be right back. To get in touch with them, you can send them an email to skipandjoshshow@gmail.com. You can follow them on Twitter @skipandjosh, and you can visit their website at www.skipandjosh.com. And now, back to the show.
So, changing the subject a little bit.
Yeah.
You know how the NHL announced that they're not going to the Olympics?
Yeah.
Okay, fine. And some people out there, the conspiracy theorists, are saying that it's just a ploy to get money from the IOC.
I don't think it's a ploy. I think it's just, well, we had a whole episode about this,
right?
But I mean, I think it's just that they want to promote their own event, the World Cup of Hockey. That's it.
Right. That's fine.
Yeah.
So, but here's the interesting thing that no one has brought up. Next year's NHL schedule hasn't been released yet, which is fine because they don't normally release it until after the playoffs are done.
Right.
So that's fine. But what they always do well before the season ends, well, even well before the regular season ends, is they announce where the All-Star game is going to be next year, where and what date.
And they haven't done that?
They haven't done that.
Because
so if you look, there is no NHL All-Star game next year.
So in the back of their mind, there's still hope for the Olympics.
Right. I mean, I'm not saying that they're going to change their mind and they're going to go to the Olympics, but if they're not going to the Olympics, then they are going to have an All-Star game. And if they're going to have an All-Star game, then where is it? And when is it? And why haven't they announced it?
Don't you think it would be in Vegas?
I heard that it might be in Toronto because it's the 100-year anniversary of the Leafs.
Okay.
I mean, actually, that's happening. That already just happened. It's all of 2017.
Right.
Just like for the NHL. But the thing is, whatever city it's in, they need to start promoting and preparing.
Yeah, so it makes sense it would be in a city like Toronto where they don't have to do as much promotion.
Oh, no, no. I mean, it would make sense, whatever. But I'm just saying, like, the city would need to know, hey, you're hosting the All-Star game. You can't just tell them a month before or a week before, hey, by the way, you're hosting the All-Star game. Whatever city it is, I'm sure that they've been told by the NHL, by the way, you're hosting the All-Star game. It hasn't been made public, but I'm sure that city/team knows who they are.
Right. So
my question is, why hasn't it been made public? That's my question.
Because it's like you said, it's a ploy. The Olympic thing is still in the back of their mind. They haven't, even though Bettman and Daly have said, no, it's a done deal and it's over and we made our decision. Obviously they haven't, right?
Well, yeah, I think they're hedging their bets.
Yeah.
Because if in fact that they're hard and fast and they're not going to the Olympics, then why wouldn't they have announced where the All-Star game is?
It's a very good observation. I haven't noticed about it. I didn't even think about the All-Star game.
If I ever had the opportunity to question Gary Bettman, well, I'd ask him 118 million questions. But this is one of the questions. This is the first question I would ask him. And you know how he never answers any question that he's asked. He always skates around the subject. But I'd like to see him skate around this one.
Well, you have to ask him a direct question. Where will the All-Star game be next year?
Right. That's what I would ask.
Right.
He's like, I mean, between him and Bill Belichick, I don't know who's worse at interviewing.
Well, Belichick doesn't even want to answer.
Right. Neither does Bettman.
Yeah. Well, Bettman gets up there with the intention of maybe, spreading some bullshit, like
exactly.
just his own agenda, so to speak,
right.
But, Belichick doesn't even want to be there.
Check out the Skip and Josh Sports Show on Twitter. You know that little app with the little blue Tweety bird? Yeah, you can follow them there at Skip and Josh.
There's something that bugs me, and I don't know if there's a few things that are bugging me this week.
Oh God, this is good. I like this.
So I don't know if this is really the What Bugs Me segment, but I do want to talk about this.
Okay, let's go for it.
I know it's a week old now.
Like you say, lay it on me.
You're getting me? Boy, are you bugging me, man? I'm gonna nail. Ooh, I'm getting bugged now. Whoa, man.
So I don't know if you watched, probably you didn't, the NHL draft lottery.
No, I didn't watch that.
Okay. So I watched it. I mean, I watched it because it was only like 5 minutes. It's not a big thing.
Right.
Now, I don't care about the show itself, but the results of the draft lottery actually make me sick. I mean, look at this. So New Jersey's going to pick first, and I'm looking at the standings. Okay, so New Jersey was one of the 4 worst teams in the league. Not so terrible. But who's picking second? Philadelphia. Philadelphia was the 12th worst team in the league.
Yeah.
Not top 5 even. The team that finishes 12th worst shouldn't have a chance even of picking in the top 3.
Right.
I don't know when they change these rules. If you're one of the bottom 5 teams in the league and you pick first, I'm okay with that.
But
if
you're
the 12th worst team in the league and you're picking second,
yeah, that makes no sense.
That to me is disgusting. And Dallas is picking third, and Dallas wasn't so bad. They were the 7th worst team. So I'm not sure what kind of system they use. I'm not sure when they change the rules. I get it. They don't want teams tanking. But you know what? If a team wants to tank and a team wants to get the first pick overall, I have no problem with that.
Well, they don't want teams tanking, but they could just wait a little bit more. I mean, like you said, the 12th worst team shouldn't even have a ball in that lottery.
I agreed.
right?
That's exactly what I'm
like
saying.
they could pick number 2 or 3 or 4, but not 1.
Not even top 3, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And then the team, like the worst team in the league by a lot, Colorado.
Yeah.
They're not picking until 4th.
That's crazy.
So I mean,
our Flyer correspondent, our Philly correspondent, Mark, who's a huge Flyer fan, must be so excited about their pick.
He's probably through it because they're not even such a bad team. Like Flyers had 88 points.
Yeah.
So they were above 500 and they're picking 2nd.
That's nuts.
How is that allowed to happen?
I don't know. I saw that Taylor Hall tweeted after the results saying that he's been working on his ping pong ball picking skills or something like that.
Yeah, because it seems that he
said I can add ping pong ball specialist to my resume or something.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was a good tweet.
Yeah, he's okay. I mean,
but I don't understand how a team like Philadelphia is picking 2nd.
no, that's wrong.
And Vegas, who has no players, is picking 6th.
No, but I think Vegas. What did they have a chance to get number 1? Vegas.
They did have a chance to get number 1.
Right.
They had the same chance as Arizona
Okay.
to get number 1.
Right.
And Arizona is picking right behind them.
Right.
I mean, look, it's not like there's a Connor McDavid in this draft or a Sidney Crosby in this draft.
No.
Or even an Austin Matthews.
But that's
in this
besides
draft.
the point. That doesn't
Right.
matter. Yeah.
Right. So that's just frustrating to me.
All right. Well, that's a good what bugs me. I would consider that a what bugs me for sure.
Okay.
What's the second thing you wanted to say?
Things that bug me?
Well, nothing to do with hockey.
Okay, we
But,
could switch topics.
I mean, this actually applies in hockey, but more so in baseball.
Okay.
It's unwritten rules in sports.
Oh God. Yeah.
So annoying.
Did you think of this because of everything that happened this week with the Red Sox and the Orioles?
Yes. But I mean, I've thought about this for a while. It's so annoying to me. A guy hits a home run, and I'm not going to talk about a specific home run, but if
Yeah.
a guy hits a home run, how often do you see that the next guy in the order is plunked? Or when the guy that hit the home run comes up to bat next time, he gets plunked.
Right.
You know what? The batter's job is to get a hit,
Right.
and the pitcher's job is to get him out. So if you didn't get him out, if he hit a home run off you, it means one of two things. Either he's really good, or you're really bad, or you made a mistake.
Right.
And so why should he be penalized his next time up at bat? Because he did what he was supposed to do. He did his job.
Only because he ran around the bases 3 seconds slower than he normally would.
And even sometimes when they don't run around the bases slower, they still get plunked the next time they come up to bat.
Yeah.
So that's so frustrating.
This
to me.
business about hitting guys in baseball it's been this way for our whole life, right?
For even before we were born.
Yeah, and
But that doesn't make it okay.
No, it's complete nonsense because, if you're a professional athlete and you're so sensitive that a guy ran around the bases too slow, or a guy flipped his bat like in a way you didn't like, or a guy looked at you for 1/3 of a second, that gave you a glare that you didn't like. I mean, get a life. I mean, this is professional sports. There's gamesmanship. It's part of it. But
Yeah.
but hitting a guy because he hit a home run off you is just pure nonsense.
It's ridiculous. And then so I mean, you heard this week that the commissioner came down and said that there's going to be no tolerance for the rest of the Baltimore-Boston series.
Yeah.
And then I think the Orioles pitcher Kevin Gossman got tossed in the second inning because he hit a batter.
But what was interesting about that is the 100% the umpire felt the pressure of what the commissioner said, and we're going to have no tolerance, because I really believe that pitch he wasn't throwing at him. It was like a 77-mile-per-hour curveball that he just missed, right?
I listen, I don't disagree with you, but I agree with what the ump did. And if I was the ump, I would have done the exact same thing.
Right.
Because as you've seen with these athletes who act like children,
Yeah.
you have to have a zero tolerance
But
policy.
the zero tolerance policy is not going to work.
Otherwise, they're just going to keep doing it.
You know what's going to stop them from doing it? The next time the umpire kicks someone out for throwing at someone, it's a $1 million fine. You're thrown out of the game, and the manager's thrown out of the game. And the manager also gets a $1 million fine. That will stop it.
But one game isn't even enough.
No, but you have to get them with a serious monetary fine. Otherwise, a pitcher's going to say, I'm not losing $1 million for throwing at someone.
Well, yes, the monetary fine I agree with, but one game isn't even enough.
Yeah, you're right.
Especially for a pitcher, because sometimes if it's a starting pitcher, he's not pitching for another 5 days anyway.
Yeah, I don't understand. When a pitcher's like, oh, I'll serve my 2-game suspension. I'm not even going to miss a start.
So yes, and you're right. The manager needs to get suspended as well. And it has to be a strict, harsh punishment. Otherwise, teams are just going to keep doing it. And you know what? The pitchers in Major League Baseball, every single pitcher in Major League Baseball, even the worst pitcher in Major League Baseball, has excellent control of their pitches, or else they wouldn't be in the majors.
Right.
So what I would do, which will never happen, if you hit a batter, you're out of the game right away, regardless. I don't care if you've never hit a batter in your life. I don't care if there's no history between you and the other team. You hit a batter, you're done. And at the same time, all those hitters who wear those big fat elbow pads, I would outlaw those elbow pads.
Well, yeah, I guess. But the elbow pads are not for hit by pitches too. It's for, well, I guess the elbow pads are, but the shin pads are for like foul balls.
No, shin pads is fine, but those guys, a lot of guys, like, they wear those elbow pads and they stick their elbows into the strike zone. They try to get hit by a pitch, or they try to crowd the plate. But get rid of the elbow pads and you hit a batter, you're done.
And how do you like the big fight there that broke out? You can't even, and I'm holding up, like, for those on News Channel 8, I'm holding up quotation marks around the word fight, because there's no punches thrown. It's a baseball fight. Everybody runs out of the dugout. They start holding, like, oh, everybody looks at each other and what's going to happen, and then nothing happens.
Right. Right.
Yeah. It's, the baseball fight is honestly the funniest thing in the world.
It's nonsense. I mean, there have been one or two where there actually been punches thrown, but
no, of course. I mean, look, obviously, what's his name, Odor, cold cocked Batista last year.
That's right. Yes.
But I mean, most of the time, the dugout's empty and nothing happens. But yeah, oh god, I knew you were gonna talk about this Red Sox Orioles business. And didn't you see, like, the game after, Machado hit another homer? And then he jogged around the bases, and now they have a stopwatch. Oh, my God. Machado, he ran around the bases in 28 seconds. Oh, my God. Like, who cares?
You hit the home run, you should be allowed to walk as slow as you want to walk.
I mean, as long as he's not walking. But he's still, he's jogging around the bases. Like, what do you want him to do, run a sprint?
That is the point of the home run. The point is that I don't have to run around because you can't get the ball.
Right. I've hit it over everybody.
I can run as slow as I want to.
Right.
That is the entire point of a home run.
Yeah. But now we've got to the point now where every time a player, now it started. This is the first time in my life that I've ever heard about, like, it took X amount of seconds to run the bases. So now every time someone hits a home run, they're going to be like, oh, he ran on the bases in 33 seconds. That was okay.
And
but if he does it in 29 seconds, it's too slow.
Someone went and studied, like, the last 100 homers that Machado hit and timed every time.
Whoa, there you go.
How long it took him to get around.
Oh, my God.
Someone has a lot of spare time on their hands.
A lot of people have a lot of spare time.
Like us. That's why we do this show.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's true. But,
By the way, I've mentioned this to you before. I don't think I've ever mentioned it on air. You know how I listen to like sports talk radio at night, whether it's CBS Sports Radio or Fox Sports Radio or ESPN Sports Radio, whatever it is.
Yeah.
I have to say, our show is actually better than any of those.
Of course it is.
I mean, I'm not just saying that because it's our show.
Yeah.
But, like, I hear those shows, they talk about nonsense and they have one subject and they rehash the same subject for, like, seems like half an hour.
I want to go in their defense sometimes. A lot of times I listen to those shows kind of with a critical, I listen to them a little bit more critically than I ever used to, just because we're doing our own show. And I agree, we're better, but we only go for 45 minutes a week, whereas these guys are grasping for subject matter to fill up airtime that, like, they don't have enough to talk about for the amount of time they're on the air. So they have
a show every night.
Yeah, and they'll show every night, and then it goes for hours and hours and hours. So, like, they do their best. But yeah, you're right. Some of it's garbage.
Like one of the on-air guys was going on for the longest time about Draymond Green and how he's a complainer every time he gets called for a foul.
Right.
And that's a valid topic to talk about. But you talk about it for what, 2, 3, maybe 5 minutes, and then you move on. But he was just going on and on and on about this.
It's classic stuff.
For 15 minutes. I don't need to hear about that for 15 minutes.
Those are good What Bugs Me. I'm happy you brought them up.
I had to get a lot off my chest. But we need to have a new segment.
What is it called?
What's the opposite of what bugs me?
What excites me?
Well, it doesn't
Things
really
that
excite
make me happy?
Well, yes, there is something that makes me happy.
So,
because everyone out there thinks I'm this big curmudgeon and everything annoys me. But there's something that actually doesn't annoy me that I want to talk about.
I want to talk about you for a second.
Okay.
So, yes, it's true. I think, look, I've known you for how long?
20-something years.
Yeah, okay.
4.
So I would say that you are definitely, like, if they say there's two types of people in the world, like a glass half empty and a glass half full, you're definitely like a glass half empty. That's not, I'm not like saying bad things. Like, this is how you are, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it does take a lot to get you excited about something. It's
That's
not
true.
it's not something. If you're about to tell me something that made you happy or something that made you, that's something that you really liked, it's probably something pretty good, because it will take a lot to get you like that. So go for it.
Happy, happy, joy, joy. Happy, happy, joy, joy. Happy, happy, joy, joy, joy.
So I've mentioned this to you just briefly,
Mm-hmm.
but a few weeks ago, I noticed that on my television package, I now get the MLB Network.
Yeah, but the free trial ended yesterday.
No, I have it this morning.
Oh, good. Oh,
I
I'm on a
mean-
different provider, but my free trial ended on May 4th.
Okay, well, maybe mine will end tomorrow, but this
Mhm.
morning it was working.
Okay.
So I used to have the NHL Network when it existed.
Yeah,
I think it only exists in the States now.
it does. Yeah,
I do have the NFL Network.
me too. It's great.
I now have MLB Network.
Right.
I've never had the NBA Network. Or
I
whatever
do.
it's
I do
called.
have it. NBA TV Canada.
I have Golf Channel.
Oh,
I don't watch it, but I have it because it's part of my package.
right.
My point is there's all these different networks that are dedicated to one sport. But MLB Network is far and away better than all of them.
It's very, very good.
It's
I
not
have
even
to admit.
close. The others suck
Yeah.
compared to MLB
And you
Network.
know what? You know who's really, really good? And it's sad to say, because I know he was in trouble with the law. I don't even remember what happened to him. But Harold Reynolds is really, really good at his job.
He is good.
Yeah. And now they have Dan Plesac on, who's actually not too bad. Like, they have like a lot of good talent, surprising guys. Like, you see like a lot of former major leaguers. You're like, what's this guy doing here? And he's like, and you know why they're there, because they're good at it, right?
Yeah,
It's-
well, they know the game. They talk
Yeah.
about it, and they're good talkers.
No, but it's not high profile players. Like, Fox brought out like A-Rod and Frank Thomas and Pete Rose, remember, in the World Series?
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And they were fine. A-Rod was fine, but like the guys on MLB Network who are former players are good at being broadcasters.
It's not only that. I'm not even talking about the personalities or the former players who are good, but there's other good things about the network itself that I want to mention. They have a segment, and I don't know if it's every day or once a week,
Yeah.
where I don't even know who it is. He talks about strategy of the game, and he'll show a play, and he'll show why the cutoff man was in the wrong place and where the
Right.
cutoff man should be,
That's good.
and how to defend this type of play. Like, they actually go into the details of it, which I found so interesting. And then the other thing I like about it is, I mean, in fairness to the other networks, baseball has
A lot of games.
a dozen games every day, so they've got tons of content.
Yeah.
More than a
If there's
dozen
any
games.
sport that needs like a devoted channel to show you the highlights of every game every night, is baseball, right? Because there's so much.
Right.
So
I mean,
many games.
NFL, they have one game. Each team has only one game a week. And hockey, sometimes you play 2 games, sometimes you play 3 games, whatever.
Yeah.
Baseball, there's games every day and there's tons of games. So they have a lot of content. But the other good thing about the MLB Network, it seems like every time I turn it on at night, they're showing you a live game. And so one night it could be San Francisco. The next night it could be the Dodgers.
There's
The
a lot
next
of
night
live
it could be
games.
the Nationals. But there's live, like, you don't even need to get the MLB package because you're getting so much baseball already.
There's a lot of live games on the MLB Network, I noticed, which is great because, where we are, it's like if you don't like the Jays, well, you're out of luck because the
Right.
Jays are on every night,
Right.
right? And because the Jays are on every night, we really can't get anything else. And, Rogers and TSN will show. They do show other teams, like it's on a schedule, like it's predetermined, which games are going to show. They show you the Sunday Night Baseball, and there's odd games on, when the Jays are not playing. But I do like the fact that you can go on MLB Network and you're like, oh, look, the Phillies are playing the Giants,
Yeah. So, I mean, like you said, your preview ended yesterday. I don't know when mine's going to end, but I really like MLB Network.
Yeah, actually, Matthew asked me yesterday. He's like, hey, the free preview ended. Could we get the channel? I'm like, yeah, I guess so.
So that's all I got.
That's all you got? That's
Yeah.
a lot of stuff. I mean, look, I wanted to really talk about the concussion. That was what was mostly on my mind this week, and then I completely forgot about the Orioles Red Sox. But I'm glad you brought it up. So, just to remind everybody to give us a like on iTunes, or it's called Apple Podcasts now, and give us a positive review. And you can email us or at skipandjoshshow@gmail.com. Let us know what you think. If you want us to talk about anything, we'll be happy. Do you have any shout outs this week?
I don't have any shout outs this week. I didn't get any listener email.
No.
I didn't get any feedback from anybody.
I didn't hear back from the guy about our big sock deal that we're working on.
Oh, okay. That's important. Are the socks going to have will one sock have my photo and the other one will have your photo?
That would be great.
And then if you buy 2 pairs,
it's like a matching set.
Do you have to wear one of each of us, or can you have one day where you wear 2 socks with your photo and then the next day you wear 2 socks with my photo on?
These are all important questions that we'll need to have answered.
They are important.
Before the sock deal goes down. I wanted to ask you a non-sports related thing before we go off. So I know you haven't watched any of the Americans yet this year, have you?
No, and I haven't watched any of Prison Break yet either.
Okay, so I won't spoil anything. Forget that question. Just to say, I'm not happy with the Americans this season.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that, but I look forward to binge watching the entire season.
That's cool. All right, so I'll talk to you next week.
Okay.
Bye.
The Skip and Josh Sports Show is over now. Don't worry, there'll be another episode soon.